Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lindsay and today we are going to be talking about why we grieve the loss of a pet. I know this is something that for some people you don't really have to go into it much for them to understand, whereas for other people it seems benign and doesn't seem significant enough to even talk about. But I am here to have the conversation because this is what we are about on this page. We are here to validate everyone's loss, no matter how significant or insignificant the world may think it is, because at the end of the day, loss is loss. And if you're having a reaction to it, if you are grieving it, it is your right to do so. We are a judgment-free channel. We validate people. We are looking for connection. We are looking to simply be heard and to no longer have to silence our grief or our pain. So if you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe, turn on those notifications so that you are alerted when I upload my videos. Why do we grieve the loss of a pet? In order to first understand our reaction to the loss, we have to understand the connection that we had with that which we lost, right? So in this particular subject, we're talking about pets. So sometimes it can be a little bit complicated to talk about your actual experience with the loss of a pet, just because not everyone's going to be supportive or understanding of your experience. Sometimes people feel that they have to compare their loss in order to hopefully be able to have people understand, okay, my loss of my dog or my cat or whatever your pet is meant as much as perhaps your loss of your family member, of your friend, of whoever is significant in your life. And the way people take this usually is like, how dare you compare the losses, right? So you can't compare an animal's life to that of a human's life. And usually it doesn't have the effect that the person expressing their grief would like to have. So what they're looking for usually when they're saying to you, it's like this or it's like that, is for you to simply validate their loss, for you to acknowledge that they're in pain, that they're experiencing their grief, that they miss their pets, that this has impacted in one way or the other. But instead, usually we turn the eye and say, well, no, like that's not the same. And I agree, it's not the same. I absolutely agree that we shouldn't actually have to compare our losses, because guess what? Loss is loss, regardless if you think it's significant or insignificant. The only thing that I need to feel what I feel is to, again, allow myself to understand, okay, this has impacted me for whatever reason. I don't have to justify it to anyone. I don't have to list out the reasons why I'm affected. A lot of times this makes people feel isolated in their experience and leads them to actually shutting down and not talking about it, which may intensify the emotions that may come up in their grief. So I agree. We need to stop comparing losses, because we've almost created this kind of hierarchy, right, of losses. Did you lose a child? Did you lose a parent? Did you lose a grandparent? Did you lose a best friend? Did you lose a partner? Like, did you lose a pet? And usually losing pets seems to make it pretty low on that hierarchy, right? Because it's almost like, oh, it's just a dog, it's just a cat, it's just a bird, it's just a rabbit. Like, those things are replaceable, and they're not things, they're living things, by the way. We think that because we can get another pet, that all of a sudden voids out the fact that we have a reaction to when that pet is no longer there, when that pet physically dies. And that's truly unfortunate that we feel we have come to a point where we have to justify our loss, justify our grief. So really what people, I hope, can understand, hopefully someday, is that what may mean absolutely nothing to you can mean the world to someone else. Pets may seem insignificant to some people. Some people may not even like animals, may not understand why people have pets, and that's okay. It's your right to feel and surround yourself with whatever you like. And again, your ideas are your own to have. but it becomes a problem when your ideology all of a sudden is used to make someone else feel bad. So because perhaps you don't understand the connection that people have with their pets, now you're there kind of minimizing and invalidating their experience, because it's like, wow, I don't understand how you can be crying for a dead dog, or I don't understand why you're so affected. It wasn't like a human died. And again, the comparison of losses, we really need to stop comparing. Every loss holds its own weight, holds its own place. I was actually watching a TED Talk recently, and it was done by a veterinarian. His name was Rustin Moore, and it's called The Power of Pets, and I'll link that in my description below. But what really intrigued me about this conversation is the fact that he started to talk about the connection that people build with their pets and the actual impact that animals have on humans. And there's a specific name where I'm not gonna butcher it. It's like Zuaya or something like that, but I'm gonna list it in the description below. And it really refers to the bonds that humans make with animals, and it's a very unique one. He also started to talk about how research has proven that spending time with animals, whether it's 10 minutes, 10 hours, or 10 years, has shown to significantly reduce the presenting symptoms for people with mental health related conditions and chronic physical health conditions. So conditions like depression, cancer, like dementia, and the list goes on. When people spend time, however much time a day, with an animal, it actually improves their quality of living. It reduces perhaps whatever anxiety may be surrounding their illness or their life at the time. And it's not like the animal really does anything but be there. The animal is simply there existing. If animals can have such a meaningful and powerful impact for people with, let's say, physical health or mental health conditions, it's like, what kind of impact can they have on the day-to-day living of people just in general? He even talked about how studies have shown that homeless people that have pets, right, they actually are more likely to turn down shelter if the shelter does not permit their pet to actually go inside. So they'll go as far as to say, like, no, like, I'd rather sleep in the streets if my pet can't go to it. And I know this may sound crazy, unreasonable, and everything else for people that don't get the connection. When we think about having our support system and having people around in our life that we know we can go to, we take that for granted oftentimes because we have it. But having the support of people, feeling like you're heard, validated, and understood, all that is actually a luxury, because not everyone has someone to go to. Not everyone has someone to help them feel safe, to help them feel connected, to help them feel like, okay, you're not alone in this life. So for people that don't have the luxury of having a support system, an animal can mean the world. It's literally the world. There's not a truer form of love than that of a pet for his owner, because a pet doesn't care who you are. The pet doesn't care how much money you have. A pet doesn't care anything about you except the fact that he just wants to be there for you. He just wants to be by your side every time you come home. Every time you see them, they're jumping for joy, like if that was the first time they saw you. They truly show humans what unconditional love is about. They have absolutely no expectation, only, if you can feed them on a regular, that'd be nice. That's the only expectations I know for sure animals have. But even then, just again, the nurture that animals give us, the unconditional love, the unconditional regard, and just helping us feel like they're not there to judge us. They don't care what has happened in our lives. They're there to love us unconditionally. So when we lose those pets, when we lose that part of our lives where we felt connected, it can very much well set you on to experiencing intense emotions in your grief experience. And this is a loss. I'm not here to tell you you need to understand the connection between animals and humans, or you don't need to do anything that you simply don't want. But what I ask of you is to be a little bit more mindful when you're having conversations with people that are trying to express to you their grief. if it's related to a pet. I know instinctually it's like we want to say, oh, don't worry, just get another dog. Oh, don't worry, just get another cat. No, it's not about just get another pet. It's not about that. It's the fact that that person had a connection, a very special connection with that pet, and allowing them to simply express it without judgment, without shame, without having them feel like they have to compare it to something that you may understand, would mean the world. So if you feel like you can't be supportive during that time, and honestly, to be supportive takes very little. I think to be an ass takes much more effort than to simply be supportive. And I'm sorry for calling it like that, but honestly, like sometimes the things that people say that can be so invalidating, there's no other explanation than you're just being a straight up ass. So I really encourage you guys, if you feel like you are not in the space to be able to try to hold space for someone that's perhaps grieving the loss of a pet, then simply tell them, listen, I don't know that I can support you, but for everything else, like, I'm here for you. Maybe you want to talk to this person or that person. Just instead of saying something nasty or something negative or something judgmental and shameful, just simply say, I'm unable to provide you right now with a supportive word, simply because I don't understand your grief. I don't agree with it. And it doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not. It's not up to you to agree with someone else's grief experience. It's their own. Show kindness when given the opportunity to be right, to be logical. I encourage you guys to be kind, because you truly don't know the silent struggles that people are experiencing. What may mean nothing to you may mean the world to someone else. I hope this will bring up some reflections for yourself. I invite you to educate yourself, do some research. If you still feel like, no, I think, people grieving the loss of pets is bogus, then by all means, that's your prerogative and your opinion. But do educate yourself, do the research. And if at the end of the day you still feel the same, then fine. But just be kind, be human and be kind. And if you can't be human or be kind, walk away. Like I always tell you guys, there is no right or wrong way to grieve. There is simply your way. So don't listen to the white noise, because you are feeling what you're feeling for a reason, and that is okay. So again, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Life After Loss, turn on those alerts, and also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at _lifeafterloss, as well as check out my website, lifeafterloss.co. Until the next.